So, the IA, it is called an exploration. Unlike with studies, it's called a project. With SL, it's called an exploration. So please forgive me if I happen to say project. I really mean exploration, but I am doing both now. So it's like a thin. There's a difference between the two, but they all pretty much mean the same thing. It's a paper that you guys are going to write. Okay. The purpose of this exploration. Okay. Just so you guys are, you're like, what's the point? Purpose. You want to be able to develop an ability to ask your own questions about math and answer it, okay? And the majority of you all have had me before, okay? And I'm like, math is everywhere, all right? Now it's your turn to figure out, okay, where is that math now, okay? And to initiate and sustain a piece of work in math, okay? You're writing a paper, a research paper that deals with math. These are good skills and qualities that you'll need when you go to the next level. College, yes. To experience the relationship between math and other subjects, because it is everywhere, it is cross curriculums, and to apply it to an area of interest. That is key. This paper, this exploration, is supposed to be something that you are interested in. That's when you actually, commit more of your effort and your time to this, if it's something that you are interested in. Okay? That is key. So, what do we write about? Your choice. Please make it appropriate. Okay, focus it, excuse me, to a specific question, not necessarily a research question, okay? This is not like an EE, okay? But, if you're wondering, like you're really fascinated with spiders and you're like, is there certain type of patterns or designs in their webs? Then, that's your question right there. Is there a pattern with their webs? And go off of that. Or if you're trying to figure out, if a girl tumbles this many times, how much space will she travel or something, it's, a question that you ever had, maybe just in passing. Oh, does this apply to this? There you go. And then answer that question by gathering information and using the math. All right? So are we going to...
Good morning, Highlanders.
So are we going to do any of this in class? Yes. Okay, there will be some things done in class, such as discussing the assessment criteria, which we'll talk about today, discussing any suitable topics or titles, and discussing your progress with me. Okay, we are going to do those things in class. We're also going to look at some past IAs, some from Lake Wales High School students, some not from Lake Wales High School students, so you guys can see, some of the topics that they chose, how well they wrote it, and then we'll also grade them as well. Okay, because if you can understand how an IA is graded, then you'll know what to include, what not to include in your own. Okay? What are you going to do on your own? Everything. No, I'm just kidding, but no, I'm being serious at the same time. Because the planning is going to be done on your own. Researching, collecting, and organizing, that's going to be done on you. Applying the math, demonstrating the math, and communicating it through your paper, as well as creating the diagrams and the terminology. That is going to be done on you. I can only help, but to a certain level. Okay? And the bulk of it is this. I can't write your paper for you. Okay, you're gonna have to do that yourself. Okay. Of course, if you're stuck, if you're like I don't know what I want to do, then you bring that to class, and as a class we will help you figure this out. We'll give you some ideas, and maybe there'll be something that you can run with. But majority of this is gonna be on you. Okay. Will I give you class time to work on the things that you have to do yourself? Yes. We will have IA work days where you bring in your laptops, or you can use a Chromebook. You can do your research. You can do your planning, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? Remember, if you have any questions. So, how am I being graded? There are 5 criteria that you guys see on that rubric that I handed out. Criterion A is your introduction and your communication. Okay? B is your mathematical presentation. C, your personal engagement. D, the reflection, and E, the use of math. Is very different from studies. So if you happen to have a friend that's in studies and they're like, oh, well, they have 7 criteria, but theirs is more like they have to hit every single one. Y'all's is a little bit more loose. Okay, it's not like you have to have your introduction here, mathematical presentations here, personal engagement statement here, reflection here. It does not need to be broken down like that. It can be all intermingled and together like a nice big old soup. Theirs has to be laid out. Okay? So, let's be real. Do I really have to do this? Duh. Yes. Okay. Master of the obvious award, money spent and time wasted. Yes, you have to do this, guys. It is 20% of your grade, not like final exams. This is 20% of your IB math grade. Paper 1, the non-calculator section, that's 40% of your IA grade for this class. Paper 2, the calculator section, that is 40% of your grade. The IA makes up the last 20%. You cannot get credit for this course without doing it. Okay, that is diploma, that's certificate. Say we inherit an extra student who just happened to not be in IB next year, they're going to have to do it as well to get the credit for this class. Okay, but it's not bad. I promise you, it's not bad. It is out of 20 points. Okay, but 20%, 20 points. How much does your IA affect like your overall grade? It's kind of like if you're sitting on the borderline of any number, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, the IA will either boost you up or bring you down. It's like that deciding factor on whether or not, if you're right at the borderline, whether or not you'll be pushed above or brought down. At least that's what I've seen over the years. So let's break it down, okay? Criterion A, communication. This criterion assesses the organization coherence of the explanation. A well-organized exploration includes an introduction, okay? And includes an wrong thing. It includes an introduction, a rationale, which is basically explaining why you chose this topic, and the aim of the exploration, okay? And it has a conclusion. All right? A coherent exploration is logically developed and easy to follow, okay? So, to be honest, when it comes down to this particular criterion, at most, you should be able to get at least a 2, okay? Because it has some type of coherence. It makes some type of sense, and it's organized in some type of way, okay? You guys should be able to at least get a 2. To get a 3 or to get a 4, it needs to be fully coherent, okay? Meaning that it's easy to read, easy to follow, and it needs to be well organized, okay? And if it's just, the bee's knees, that's when you get a 4, all right? Graphs, tables, diagrams should accompany your work, okay, depending on what you do. And please do not have any attachments or appendices, okay? We'll talk about that in the next criterion, all right? Something else, the introduction, it should set up the paper. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? How are you doing it? If it's like one of those like experiment type things. This is also where you define your terms. If you decide to talk about the Scottish unit, do realize that I know what the Scottish unit is. I might not know all the terms you guys use, but this is being sent out. Your paper may be selected to be sent out to be moderated externally. Okay, people around the world do not know about what we do, or maybe something specific to whatever you're talking about. So if it's a term, anything agriculture related, you're going to need to define these terms, okay? Now, if you're doing anything dance, a pirouette, maybe not everybody knows what a pirouette is, okay? Define the terms, okay? That's also going to be very helpful. A good rule of thumb is if, say you get your draft done, you give it to one of your classmates to read, and if they're like, what does this mean? You need to define it, okay? Or better yet, if at any point in time, when I read it, because you'll turn in a rough draft, I'll go through it. If I box it, I'll put a question mark, why this doesn't make sense, that's when you know that, okay, maybe I need to define something so it makes sense, okay? But it should be easy to read for somebody of your grade level to be able to understand, okay? And that's the breakdown. Criterion B. This is the mathematical presentation. It's out of 3 points. Sorry. Introduction, communication was 4. Mathematical presentation is worth 3 points. So far, we're at 7 points. This is where you use appropriate mathematical language, notation, symbols, terminology. Okay? This is where you define key terms, key math terms, or if you decide to talk about sports, define those specific sports terms. Use multiple forms of mathematical representations, such as formulas, diagrams, charts, tables, graphs, models. If you're doing, I saw one where they were talking about something in relationship to like the sit and reach. I don't know if you guys remember this from like elementary school where you sat down, put your feet against a board, and you try to see how far you could reach. You know, they even had a diagram of what that was for anybody who's like, what is the sit and reach test? You know, so you can even, you know, draw it out, not stick figure it, but, you know, make it nice. You're expected to use mathematical language when communicating math ideas, reasonings, and findings. You're encouraged to use appropriate tools such as graphics display calculators. You know, if you want to try to, if you want to try to show something, and you're like, well, Ms. Anderson, I don't have the program that you have where I can take a screenshot. You can use mine. We can screenshot whatever you need to do, and I can email them to you. You can just attach them to your paper. You can use Excel to make your graphs, make your tables. Of course, use Word to write your paper. Let's not use Notepad or anything crazy like that. Pages. I've seen students use Pages for their IAs, and it's been like a formatting type problem. Okay, I don't know what happens from them emailing it to me or them printing. It's always a format issue. I suggest Word. Okay. Everybody should be able to get at least the one if they have some type of something, right? A formula, a table, a graph. If you have 2 forms, you should be able to get 3. But keyword, they need to be appropriate. All right. If you're talking about a relationship between 2 things and you don't use correlation, you use probability, you know, that's not really appropriate. Okay, you talk about relationship, you need to be using correlation. Okay. C, that's your personal engagement. This is worth 4 points, and I'm telling you, I see kids only get 1. Okay, and the thing is, like, this criterion assesses the extent to which you're engaged in your exploration and you make it your own. Personal engagement may be recognized in different attributes and skills. This includes independent thinking, creativity, addressing a personal interest, and presenting your mathematical ideas in your own way. Okay? In your own way. A lot of students, they only get 1 because their engagement is limited or superficial. Like, they say, you know, I'm really interested in this topic because, you know, I always like dogs. That's very generic, you know. But if you have like a personal story behind it, like, you know, when I was 3 years old, there was a stray dog that happened to pass through our yard. It had a broken leg. You know, we nursed it back to health. Like, you have something like that. That's like, oh wow, okay. So you're trying to figure out the drooling ratio or something. You know, well, then that makes sense. You know, because he always drooled. You know. But it makes it more personal. It's something, and that's why this paper is supposed to be about something that you're interested in, okay? Because the more passionate you are about something, then the more it's going to show in your paper and in your writing. If you're more of like a history buff or something that's really like multicultural, you know, that can really help and boost up your grade because, you know, IB is international, okay? It's not all about the USA. All right, so if it gets moderated outside of the country, you know, people are going to be like, ooh, you decided to talk about, you know, Spain, and then just having to go to a Spanish moderator. You know, hey, you lucked out. But overall, people do give some evidence of a significance, personal engagement, and it's there, but not too many will give that abundant evidence. What I've seen, too, is that if you create your own, like, sample population, and you run the scenario of whatever you're researching, that's the only time I've seen people actually like get a level 4. Remember any questions you guys had? You can run down your post-it note. Breakdown of D. D is the reflection piece. This is 3 points, okay? It assesses how you review, analyze, or evaluate your exploration. Although reflection may be seen in the conclusion, it may also be found throughout the exploration. I suggest that you do this, okay? That's how you can get some higher points. A lot of students, they tend to save the reflection towards the end, but then that ends up being limited and superficial as well. They're like, you know, oh, well, I thought this was going to happen because, you know, there are more boys than girls. Well, duh, your data showed that. I mean, it's very obvious to see that. But, you know, say you are trying to figure out the probability of Okay, scratch the example. Say you do some math, right? You have a formula, you work it out, and you get the number, right? You get the answer. And say it's like you're working out correlation. You might have thought there was going to be a strong correlation, and you mentioned that in your introduction or something like that, but then the math showed up that there wasn't a correlation. And say you're going to do a few more things after that. Before you do those other few things, you put a sentence or two in. It's like, this ended up showing a weak correlation. I thought it would have been a strong correlation considering that, high school students like watching TV. But based off of the data, there wasn't, in the numbers, there wasn't one. Having those individual reflections throughout also helps boost up the paper. So then that way it's not all at the end. Okay? In your reflection, this is also where you mention your exclusions, any changes, any limitations to your project, any extensions. Is there something that you could have done extra or something that would have affected the result of whatever you did? Links to different fields. This is also, things that produce reflection because you're thinking outside of what you just did, expanding it. All right? All right. Lots of information. We doing okay, though, yeah? All right, cool. Breakdown of E. This is the largest one. It's your use of your math. Okay, it's worth 6 points. Okay, it assesses to what extent do you use the math in your exploration. Okay, you're expected to produce work that matches up with our course. Okay. The Mathematics Explorer should either be a part of the syllabus or at a similar level or beyond. I say that you need at least one element of whatever math you did needs to be a part of your paper because moderators have marked down students who've done something that's been completely not related to the curriculum. They mark that down. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have at least one topic that we've done, like derivatives or probability or statistics or quadratics. You need to have at least one of those in there. If there's something that's beyond our course and you are able to explain it and understand it and show that in your paper, then that's good. But at least have one that relates to this course. Okay? It can't be prior learning. Okay? So this angle is an obtuse angle. That's prior learning. Volume, like finding the volume of the cylinder, that's prior learning. Finding the maximum volume using derivatives, that is our course. Okay? See where I'm going with that? Let's see. Right here, this is key. If the level of mathematics does not match up with the level of the course, the maximum of 2 marks is only awarded. Okay, so say you find this fascinating topic about rockets and it has velocity and gravity and all these equations and you make sense of it and everything like that. There's not one lick of anything that relates to this course. The highest you can get is a 2. Okay, just keep that in mind. The mathematics can be regarded as correct even if there are an occasional few minor errors as long as they do not detract from the flow of the mathematics or lead to unreasonable outcomes. Okay, so if you make mistakes, it's okay, but we are going to double check our work. Okay, so we won't have to worry about that. Level 2, if you only have a paper that's done with only prior learning, the most you can get is a 2, or if it doesn't even match up to our curriculum, it's a 2. Everybody should be able to get at least a 4. Okay, which is pretty good. Good knowledge and understanding of concept, that's a level 6. Some of the basics. It's not a formal paper, so you can use the word I. The average length of these IAs are usually between 6 and 12 pages. There is no word count, but I suggest no more than 2,000 because at that point it's just getting too wordy. The word count, if you are thinking more towards that versus page count, if you are describing a graph, it's more like a caption. That doesn't count towards your word count. Any words that are put onto graphs or in diagrams, that's not a part of the word count. It could be double space or single space. I personally prefer double space because since I have to grade these myself, it's a lot easier to insert my comments through double spacing versus single spacing. But, you could do either or. If you have a lot of data, say you're doing one that's more statistics based and you have a lot of data, you need to summarize that data into like a table of some type. okay? But no attachments or appendices, as I mentioned back in criterion B. Speak well in spell check, okay? You will be penalized for grammar issues and typos. If you do something that you do use outside resources, please cite no Wikipedia. And one big thing that they do mark down is do not use the star to represent multiplication, but the binary X. Do not write out the word pi. Go in and actually use the pi symbol from the symbols option, the equation editor. Do not use this to represent exponent. Actually use the superscript option in Word to do an exponent. I'm trying to think what other square. Yeah, the square root. You know, if you go into the symbol option, square root only pops up like that. Use equation editor. If you are using Word, there's an option. Go to insert object or equation editor, depending on what version you have, and you're able to type in full equations with the square root underneath it. If you're like, I don't know where that is, I'll show you. Question time. Okay, so lots of information. Sorry. All right, so first question that we had, breakdown for criteria for word count. Like I said before, you're looking at probably no more than 2,000 words. If you do go over, it's fine. We don't want fluff, okay? We want only the stuff that's important. Really between 6 and 12 pages, okay? Let's see. Can you introduce multiple mathematical concepts? You can, but you're running a fine line between like the communication part of it. Like you can really be hurt with that, because if you introduce multiple things, at some point in time, I've seen students do it and they end up losing like their flow. It stops making sense after a certain point. Okay, I'm not saying that you should only limit yourself to one particular topic, like just conditional probability or something like that. But, I mean, you can use probability and introduce other things with it, but you know, I guess it really does depend on what topic you're planning to do. Has anyone ever, this is what I laughed at, has anyone ever gotten a 20 out of 20? Not at Lake Wells High School. But there have been some 20 out of 20s. And when we read some past ones, I'm not going to tell you, if this was a good paper or a medium paper or a great paper. Like, you're going to grade it yourself, and then we'll talk about it. And then you'll find out, what type of paper it was. And there will be a 20 out of 20 paper in there, so you kind of see, what is like the best of the best. When is the IA due? Oh, this is very crucial. So the final draft for your IA is, I don't have a specific date yet, but it kind of depends on how next year works out. But your final IA is going to be due before Christmas. Okay? And the reason why I say that is because if the number of SL students stays the number that it is, that's 28 SL papers that I have to grade. And it takes me a while to grade a paper, especially to the point where it doesn't get moderated down a lot by IB when the sample gets sent out. So that's when you're looking at. In the past, I've only had, this year I only had 9 seniors, so yeah, they turned theirs in February. The deadline was in April for us to send all of our stuff in. But it was only 9. I have 28 this time. Not to mention the 32 of studies that I'm going to have to grade as well. So I'm trying to get these in before Christmas. So just in case something happens to me, like I break down because I'm reading so much, I at least have 4 months to get it done. Okay? Are Google Docs okay for writing IAs? They surely are. Okay? And then that way you can share them with me. Okay? So Google Docs is totally fine. If you decide to do yours, what I suggest is that if you decide not to do Google Docs and you just do regular Word or something like that, that's fine. You can send those to me. I don't suggest doing, if you're going to send something to me, I don't suggest doing it through PDF, unless it's your final one. Okay? So in that way, if I decide to do my comments through the internet, I can go to the review option and make my comments in red and stuff like that. So is it like history where our IAs have to relate to topics that we have learned this year? Not necessarily this year. We have not covered integration or vectors or probability distributions. That's what we're covering in your senior year. Um, and so it does not necessarily pertain to this year, but it does need to pertain to this course in some point. You guys remember on the very first day when I gave you the outline of all the topics that we're going to talk about? So just kind of read through that and kind of see. I was like, okay, well, this was a good topic for me. I liked that one, and I liked that one too. That one made sense, and then kind of see if there's something of interest to you that applies to those. Can you? Oh wait, I already answered that one. Wait, going this way. Will I score your rough draft on scale? Yes. Anything that you're going to turn into me, I'm going to basically have the rubric right beside it. And so then that way I can kind of give you an idea. It's like, hey, if you want higher marks here, I would suggest you doing this. When you turn in your rough draft, which we'll probably do at the very beginning of your senior year, which means you're going to be working on it over the summer. I know you're going to be working on your EEs over the summer, but we'll have done a lot of the legwork this year before you leave. That is pretty much just cleaning it up over the summer. I will score that. What I will not do on your rough draft is I will not check your math. That's going to be on you, okay? Because if I'm trying to get these back in a reasonable amount of time so you guys can have enough time to do your final draft, I can't check everybody's math, okay? I mean, the simple stuff that's like, if you're just doing basic probability and the numbers don't add up, but if you want me to check your correlation coefficient through all the steps, I'm not doing that. I'm saving that for the final draft, okay? Other than that, are there any other questions? Are the actual graders going to check your math? Yes. This is how it works. I know this. If you've done history, I'm pretty sure Ruckus or Gilmar has already told you. But basically, what happens is they send after I grade all of them. I put all the grades in, and what they do is they take a sample. They take the ones that were scored low. They take some that were scored in the middle, and take some that were scored high. So then that way the grader can see what we considered a good paper, a medium paper, and a poor paper. They do that. That sample is random. Okay, if everyone stays and there's going to be 28 people, they're probably going to take a sample of about 11 or 12. Okay, this year because I only had 9 seniors, they took 5, so it was a 50% chance that their papers were going to get taken, and then it's sent off. And yes, they will check it because I'm supposed to check it. Okay, and so then that's how they'll be moderated. If they feel that I graded too lightly, they'll bump everybody down. If I grade too harsh, they'll bump everybody up. You guys will be my 4th, 14, 15, 16, 17. Y'all will be my 5th round of IAs, and I've gotten pretty good at it. Okay? So, I mean, like last year, my marks were only moderated by 1 point. So, it was pretty much what I told them, what I thought they were going to get, they pretty much got. So, my first year, I got marked down like 5 points. I was like, I thought it was great. It wasn't. but now I know. So I know now what makes a good IA, what makes a poor one. So if I give you some hints, some comments that are like, you should probably heed to those things. Do you need to have a certain number of primary or secondary sources? No. This is not history or English or anything like that. It's pretty much like if you happen to go online to pull out something, just cite it. Yeah. Huh? Yes, MLA. Don't just put, hey, I got it from like these 6 websites. Let's try to make it a little bit more professional, okay? So prepare you for the next level. Is there a set format to how you write your paper? If I have seen the whole gambit. I have seen people who've had headers for each section. They broke it down like, here's my introduction. Here's my mathematical presentations. Here's the math. I've seen those. The only issue with those is that if you do something that was supposed to be in the reflection section and you put it in personal engagement, that's it's like you kind of set yourself up for that one. But it's pretty much whatever will help it flow. If yours is going to be the long ones, maybe some subheadings would be good. Introduction. If you're going to run an experiment, here's the experiment part of everything. Reflection and conclusion. I've seen those. And when we look at some samples, I'll try to make it a variety so that way you can have some with headers, some without. One of my favorite ones to read, which is probably going to be like the first one you guys are going to read, talks about Clue, the board game, and it had no headers or anything like that, and it read okay, um, and so but it didn't have any headers or anything like that. But you can kind of see where everything was. Should extra pictures or diagrams, like how not so much how many, but should they be included? I would say if it supports whatever you're trying to figure out, trying to determine, trying to investigate, then yes, put that in. But there's not like a set number of pictures or diagrams that you need to have. Like I said before, having one diagram that gets you a level 1, having 2 that can get you higher ones, but they do need to be appropriate. Okay, I've seen people who've done multiple scatter plots because they were comparing like somebody was doing baseball, and like there's different things on a stat sheet for a baseball player. They did a scatter plot for every single one, and it's almost like, could you really just sum that up in one graph or maybe 2? But they had like nine different ones. So it's kind of like what is going to be appropriate to get your point across without being excessive. What's the highest grade that anyone from Lake Wales High School has gotten? I have given, the highest I've ever given is an 18. And that was this year. So I don't know what that will be moderated to, if they'll keep it at an 18, if they're moderated down to a 17. Last year, the highest I gave was a 17, and it got moderated down to a 16. So the highest that someone from Lake Wales has ever gotten was a 16. So for those, I'm going to be that one that gets higher. There you go. If you're doing something with animals or something where you're collecting some data, should you do your own type of research, or should you try to Google it and find it? What I would say is, to get more points in your personal engagement criterion, do it yourself. But if you can't find enough, and you don't think it's going to be enough to be measured, then go online and find it. But the more you do that yourself, the more investigation that you do yourself personally, that's how you can get more points in the personal engagement section. And then it kind of means a little bit more too, because you did it yourself, and then you can even put that in your reflection.